Welcome back to In Tune with You, a journey to glory. Oh my God, I hope you guys are tuning in from the previous episode. I pray that you enjoyed it. I pray that you guys are liking and coming and subscribing. Come on now, let's get this thing rolling. First, I just want to say I thank God for you guys being here. I just want to say that I appreciate the unwavering support. Today, I want to talk about when God allowed me to be fired from my job. Not once, but twice. I really want to name this episode Fighting with God to stay somewhere where he did not want me to be at. So I can remember like it was yesterday. First, I would like to give you guys a timeline on how things occurred. It seems like everything that I've been through, I won't say that everything that I've been through, but some of the things that I've been through being saved. And sometimes we get in our heads, and I think I mentioned this before, we get saved and we think that we're going to be good. Everything going to be peaches and cream. We think everything is going to be cool, but it's not quite like that. So I want to talk about the first time that I got fired from my job. I had been a teacher for about 4 years at that point. And I remember getting a phone call to be removed from one building that I was teaching at into another building. So when I got that phone call, I was like, whatever. Okay, I'll do it. So I get there and everything is fine. Everything is good. And I got myself into a situation. I had been joking around with my students a little bit too much, and I had got a little bit too comfortable with my students, and I allowed them to send me money. What did I do that for? I'm not here to do the blame game, but I've seen that happen before. Like, some students do send teachers money, and it could be for something specific. With me, that was my first time doing it. It was like $10. The students had been asking me to play basketball, and I was like, y'all not playing basketball. Y'all gonna have to pay me something for y'all to play basketball. And I take full accountability for it. I had no business doing it, like zero. And you hear that, teachers do that all the time, or teachers receive, not even just that, teachers receive money from students all the time. So it was nothing but $10. So I'm like, I didn't think nothing of it. And when they did send it to me, I was just like, oh, they really sent it. So somehow it did get back to my supervisor, and I was asked to resign. At the time, I was like, God, I'm saved. I just received money from a student. That's illegal. And it was so much going on in my head. And I'm like, I didn't intentionally, I didn't need for that. I didn't want for that. I didn't even think of that hard enough for it to be to turn out this serious. The situation kind of went in my favor in a way, and I was called back. But before I was called back, I was talking to my mentor about it, and she was so upset. She was like, what? Because she used to work in addition. She was like, they do that every day. What in the world? How they gonna do that to you? This your first time. They want nothing but $10. Like, you from there. It wasn't that serious. How are they so quick to let you go like this? She said, if I were you, I wouldn't go back. But when she said that, I was just like, that went in the ear and out the other. I was like, that was just a mistake I made. I got to pay the price for it, and I'll be okay. And she was like, you gonna go back to that? She was like, okay. Then I talked to somebody else, and they was just like, what? And you going back? Why you just want to go to another district? Like, why you just won't go? Why you just? And I couldn't hear that. I was like, no, I'm home. I'm going here. So I would find myself going back. What did I do that for? You know how sometimes you blame yourself for situations that you're in. And yes, it could be your fault. Like I mentioned, that was my fault. But God allows some things to happen. He allows you to do some things. He allows certain situations to happen. But sometimes he don't allow those situations to happen, especially if you need to be there in that moment or if it's for you. So I ended up getting back in the district, and everything, peaches and cream, everything is going so good. I ended up getting the head coach position at one of the schools. We won a championship, teaching social studies for my first time, 6th grade. Everything was so good. I was just getting comfortable. And then boom, teachers had gotten fired. And I want to tell you about the days leading up to that. I remember being in my room and I was just praying, praising God because I hadn't done it in a while. And keep in mind, I'm saved at the time, but I always, of course, pray every night, but I haven't just praised him. When I'm in church, I praise him. I praised him to a certain extent. But I remember that time in my life, I just felt the need to praise God in my bedroom. I was listening to certain sermons. I just was very in tune with God. I remember going to school and finding out that some teachers were going to get fired because there were testing irregularities. I hated that for them. So I can still remember that night. And I remember going to sleep that night and I had a dream. I had a dream about that situation. I just remember being in front of this computer screen and it showed me pictures of people who were going to get fired. So I saw this one teacher. I saw this other teacher. I saw another teacher. And then I saw me. And of course, you wake up and I remember that dream vividly. But when I saw me, I didn't think nothing of that. I was just like, that was just a little typo in the dream. I was like, that's definitely not, that don't have nothing to do with me. Lo and behold, I get to school. I am called in to be told that I have been fired because there's been testing irregularity on my students' tests. It didn't hit me right then. I walked out the office and I'm looking at the different other teachers. It's like about 13 other teachers. I'm looking at these teachers and I'm like, is this real? Is this a prank? So I didn't think nothing of it. I just, just was like, oh, this is just a mistake. I'm going to be back. But it was real. So the more the days went by, the more it started getting real. And, I hadn't cried with this situation, but I remember my first time crying. It was one of my old players. She FaceTimed me and she was just crying on the phone. I'm like, what's wrong? And she was like, Coach Bills, you're not going to come back with us. You're going to be gone and this and that. And I don't like this and this. And I'm like, girl, wipe your face. I'm coming back. This has just been a mistake. And she just crying on the phone. I was like, it's okay. So I ended up getting off the phone with her. And I cried because I'm like, oh my God, does she think this real? And I started thinking to myself, is this really real? And it was very much real. I remember I had started depending on other people to get me out this situation. I remember just saying to myself, I'm a Canton native. Everybody know me. I'm like, they not going to let this ride with me. I know people who would vouch for me, to let them know that, I didn't have nothing to do with this. I don't know what's going on. But it was crickets. I did have some people in my corner. I will say that I started depending on those people a little bit too hard. The more the days went by, the more I was getting denied. And I just was like, God, is this going to be my life now? My God, I got a mortgage. I said, God, I have a car note. I'm like, God, did you forget? My mom is staying with me. We need somewhere to stay. I'm like, what is going on? And the more the days was going by, the more and more sad I was getting. I was in a bad place. And I always say that I don't feel like I was depressed, but if you crying every day, that's depression. And I guess mentally, God still had his hand on me, but I still was feeling, some type of way. I remember watching a sermon and it was Bishop T.D. Jakes. And I know it's a lot of stuff going on with Bishop T.D. Jakes right now, but that man has gotten me through things. God has still used that man. That man is still anointed, but even I don't want to get into whatever was going on with him, but he did bless me. And I remember him saying, God will allow you to go through a situation where you depend on everybody else to bring you out of it. You just depend on this person, this thing, that thing. He said he'll make all those things fail. And he said he'll make you start depending on him. So when you do come out of that thing, you'll know that it was God. And when he said that, it opened my eyes and I started taking a look in the mirror at myself. I'm like, girl, you are depending on these human beings to get you out of this. You better look to God. So I started just looking to God and I'm like, asking God, I'm like, God, I like my job. I like being at home. I like being around these kids here. I'm like, Lord, please, like, what's going, come on now. So I just started praying. And I started just letting go and putting things in his hands. And I talked about this in a previous episode of the thing that God, brought me from. So this is what I was talking about. Like I said, I had ended up getting content with where I was. And I'm like, okay, God, if this ain't, I want to go back so bad, but I'm just going to put it all in your hands. You do what you going to do. So as I'm, just depending on God, I'm listening to these people who are in my corner just tell me, Ashley, leave. These people don't want you here. Like, if somebody wanted you here, like, you'll be here. But I know I wasn't looking at nobody wanting me here, but it was just like the fact that I wanted to be at home. Everybody was telling me to leave, but I just couldn't see myself leaving. That's when I ended up getting that phone call that I was telling you about in previous episodes, and I got a phone call to come back. So I'm excited. I'm back in the district. They did not allow me to coach, but I still was, I was content with it. I was like, okay, I'm back in teaching. I'll be fine. The more that I was back at work, every day I was getting like more and more unhappy. And I know some people might be like, you probably was like that because you wasn't coaching. I won't say that wasn't a part of it. Once you're used to doing something, then that's what you're accustomed to. So I won't say that wasn't a part of it. But the main thing for me was I felt unwanted, and I started becoming more and more unhappy. So of course I was still having my conversations with different people who are in my life. And I remember having a conversation telling them, I think I don't want to come back here. And they was like, finally, you don't supposed to be there. I know you love this place, but you not supposed to be there. And I got it. And I had a family member to get mad at me when I did come to that conclusion, because they had been telling me that. But I don't care how many times somebody tell you you're not supposed to be somewhere. I don't care how many times somebody tell you that something is not for you. If you do not see it for yourself, you are not going to listen. And I had to see it for myself. And that's how I am, actually. It's not like I don't take advice, but I really have to feel it in my spirit, in my soul, that something is not for me. And God knows that I'm like that. So he gonna give me that grace to show me. So I remember I was just like, okay, I don't think I want to come back here. I still was on the edge. So I remember towards the end of the year, I was at home and I got a phone call from someone in the district, and it had something to do with my money. I don't know what. I don't want to get too much in detail with it, but it was just a bunch of bull crap. I remember getting out the phone with them, and I remember I was about to run to my grandma's house and tell her what's going on. But I stopped in my tracks. And I was so mad. I was so angry. I went in my prayer closet and I just cried. I was just like, God, okay, get me away from here. Like Yvette in that movie, get me out of here. I don't want to be here no more. I'm listening to you, God. And I remember getting out that closet. It felt like I released something. Like I felt like free. I didn't even want to cry no more. I didn't even think about nothing dealing with my money no more. I was like, whatever, God, you going to take care of me. The next day, I received a phone call for a job promotion at another school. I don't know about your God. And prayerfully, we serving the same God, because it ain't number one. But my God gonna come through every single time. He will allow you to make these mistakes. He will allow you to go through certain things. But he still will have his hand on you. And when you get your posture right and you go up in there about business when you talking to God, he gonna move every time. And it reminds me of Matthew 6:4. It says, what my Father see in secret, he will reward you openly. That was humiliating for me. It was. But I never dropped my head. I continued to stay strong. And God blessed me. I want to leave y'all with, maybe you are going through a situation, or maybe you have gone through a situation that you didn't quite understand. You thought that your feet were planted where you were supposed to be. Something happened where you had to leave, whether you caused it on your own. Because I know sometimes we think that we cause certain things on our own, but no, God would allow you to make those mistakes. But those mistakes are something that you have to learn anyways. But God uses it to bless you. He uses it to speak to you. When God wants you up out of a place, he gonna get you up out of a place. And he knew for me that I did not want to leave. So him speaking to me was not going to make me leave. Him saying to different people that I need to leave was not going to make me leave. I literally had to get fired to leave. And that's how my story is. And I can't not tell my story. And that's the situation God used to bless me. I'm just willing to be used by God by any means necessary. If it causes me to be humiliated, then so be it. So I just want to leave you guys with that. And I pray that I helped somebody. I pray that you listen to my story and you are encouraged wherever you may be, or if you didn't even understand something, I pray that you were encouraged by this. Pray that you have an awesome day, and I pray that you like, comment, and subscribe and share. See you next time. Bye. Also, if there's anybody that you are interested in me interviewing, don't be afraid to let me know. Bye.
And as I take a look at my father, I realize I'm not so broken. I'm not so weak. I'm not so small. If this is my father, then there must be something within me that looks like him. For a lion gives birth to a lion. Fire gives birth to fire. The light gives birth to light. This is worship. The intimate exchange of identity.